Olá, meu nome é Marcos Frank e hoje vamos ter como convidado especial o baixista do Epica, Rob Van der Loo, que falou um pouco sobre o processo de composição do álbum novo Aspiral e também a expectativa para a turnê deste álbum na América do Sul e especialmente para algumas datas que acontecerão no Brasil. Com vocês, Rob Van der Loo. So, my fellow bassist.
Oh, a fellow bassist.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But do you play five string chord sometimes too?
Yeah, yeah. Well, in general, like with Epica, I mostly use the five string anyway. So
Awesome. Me too. I chose to start with the five string bass when I first started playing bass. So it's kind
yeah,
of interesting. And starting because of the bass, I think when I hear the new album, Aspiro, I think there's a lot of more intricate songs related to bass. I think there's more breakdowns with bass. There's much more songs related to bass this time. How much was your relation on the composing process for Aspiro this time?
um, yeah. I must say I had pretty much quite some input on this album. We all did, by the way, because album has been like the biggest team effort of Epica so far, if you ask me. Because we wrote all the songs together in a songwriting camp, which was really cool. Normally, like back in the days, it was like everybody at their own home studio would work on their ideas at home, and then eventually send it all together, put it on one big pile, and then we would work from that point of view and continue to eventually finish the album. But this time, it was like a very organic process that really uh, yeah, we really worked together this time. Like if I would work on the song and I wanted to ask, let's say, Koen to maybe like work a little bit on keyboards or give his input, then I could like just go to a room next door and ask like, hey man, come over, have a listen. Or if I want to have like some vocal lines from Simone, I could ask her like, hey, come over, take the mic, sing, and then we'll continue with the song. And that was a very natural and very cool process. And that's also probably the reason, I guess, why this album also became a much more organic album, if you ask me. Having that said, especially reflected to the bass, I guess one of the biggest reasons why the bass popped up a little more is probably because the songs have been written a little bit more from a band point of view. Back in the day, a lot of songs were written first from the symphonical point of view, and then the band would be added to it. That was a little bit more the other way around. Like a lot of songs were like really actual band songs with an orchestra around it instead of the other way around, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
Also, if it comes to the recording process, which was also very interesting, normally we would always record each and every instrument separately. And this time we actually on purpose chose to record the rhythm section, so the drums, the bass, and the guitar all together at once. So we would really get that live vibe instead of just like the very typical clinical studio thing where everything can be like completely perfection to each and every bit. Now we were like, no, fuck it, like live recordings sound great as well, so why not try to make it sound a little bit more live? And I
And
guess that's what also makes the whole album a little bit more vibrant and the songs breathe a little bit more.
and it's interesting that for me, this is like in years one of the best records Epica has ever released, in my point of view.
Thank you.
And is it something that you guys share the same opinion?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. If you don't share the same opinion, then you're screwed. I can tell you. No, but yeah, but then again, then again, sometimes not having the same opinion can also create really good ideas because you're being extra critical, of course. But no. But it's a good point. We really discussed a lot with each other, like during the tour of the Omega tour. We were a lot of stuff discussing like what's going to be the next step for us. Like what have we learned from the albums that we recorded before, from the writing process, but also from the recording point of view. Like where is it where we still can like improve ourselves. And one of the things that especially somebody like Isaac came with is like, wouldn't it be cool to have a little bit more of a live vibe into it? And instead of like recording everything separately, why not record it as a band? We already did that on the Alchemy project with a couple of songs, and which made it much more fun, first of all, to play the music, because if you're in the studio, it doesn't feel like an office job where you're just like, looking at each and every separate note and to perfect, make it everything like sound perfect. In this case, it was more like, yeah, everything as a whole has to be perfect. And sometimes it's the imperfections that make it sound perfect.
Exactly. And since you've mentioned the Alchemy project, is exactly what I would like to ask. The experiment you did on the Alchemy project was like a reflection for the new album, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I must say, like, I've always been really much into experimenting myself, but I noticed, like, especially with the band, everything, but it was always a little bit careful with experimenting. I mean, there was always been experimenting, of course, but I guess my idea's always been a little bit more extreme if it comes to experimenting. And I understand that people are like, once a band has its sound, then you don't want to mess up with it. You don't want to mess with it too much, of course. If something works, then it works. But then again, like you always, I think I'm a big believer of like really challenging yourself and make sure that you always have joy in what you do. And one of the biggest things that you can do as a musician is to orientate and to experiment with new things, with new types of music, new different styles, maybe different kind of instruments. And that's something that's also one of the reasons why we did the Alchemy project. Right, first of all, we were in a lockdown, so we had the time for it, and we thought, like, wouldn't it be cool to collaborate with other musicians to also know kind of like taste like how they work in their kitchen, for instance. And apart from that, like, we can now like not think as Epica, but just as musicians in general. Like, let's just do whatever we want to do. And the conclusion was that eventually it doesn't matter what we do. If the key elements are there, then it will sound like Epica anyway.
That's true. And this is noticeable because it's clear for me, for Aspiral at least, that you guys experimented on putting even metalcore elements and more extreme elements into your music, even though Epica is not fond of doing so because of the symphonic metal theme.
Mhm.
And I still hear that a lot, especially coming from the guitars. Of course, they are much more heavier on this album. And yeah, your bass contributed for this to be much more like groovy at some points. I think this is like the turning point for Epica when it comes for experimentations, right?
Yeah. That's well, good ears. That's but it's definitely true because we this time we also kind of like uh, looked for completely different influences, like not just focus on the typical symphonic metal stuff. For instance, that's something I never tried myself anyway, to be honest. I mean, in the past, when I just joined the band, for instance, and I did my first songs, I kind of tried to do my best, a little bit too much to sound like Epica. And that's something that I learned, like, I need to let that go. I just need to write what I got to write. And eventually it will sound like Epica anyway, because you'll add Simone to it. The symphonic elements will be added into it. Everybody has their own, oh, we have a visitor. Everybody has their own elements into it anyway. So you don't have to worry about that. Just do what you got to do, and it will turn out fine. And that's like what you said. I remember when Isaac, for instance, came up with the first ideas for Fight to Survive. He had like a lot of. He was very much inspired by bands like metalcore bands. Exactly, that's very well heard. Uh, and to a song like Obsidian Art, for instance, I wanted to experiment with eight-string guitars, like very extreme low tunings, and also have a little bit of that dark, almost sleep token kind of vibe into it, and not do that because they are like now a hot band, because we never try to be and become like a huge band or something like that. But it's more like I really like that dark romantic vibe in their music, and I think that also fits into our music as well. And Simone sings like an angel on that song, to be honest.
Yes, she does. She
Yeah.
always is an angel on every track. It's difficult
Yeah.
to come by.
Yeah, but it's cool to see like how sometimes she can be triggered when you come up with completely new things that are really. She's also very like into like dark romantic stuff herself as well, and that's something I was like, okay, that's good. Let's just continue from this path and do what we got to do.
And it's also interesting that you guys put that effort live, since this is something Epica always sounded, for me at least, since Phantom Agony, sounded like very heavy live. It is like this feeling of a very punchy band. There's always power metalish sensation when you hear Epica live. And I think this time we will see here in Brazil something much more heavier this time, right? With
Yeah,
especially with the new songs.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then those songs are really, really. I mean, it sounds stupid to say that when I hear hear me singing it itself, but those songs are really written to be played live, if you know what I mean. Because normally you just write whatever's in your head, and you just like record that, but that doesn't mean that it will work live. And now we were like already convinced, like, okay, from the first stage, if we're going to do this, we should be able to play this in the rehearsal space. And already needs to sound like really that punchy, like you just said, like it should be sounding live. It sounds should sound like that in the studio already. And if that's not going to work, then we're going to dump the song.
And you've chosen also a very a powerful band to open up for you guys. It's Flesh God Apocalypse. It's also a very extreme band that uses these kind of very dramatic opera motifs on their songs.
Mm-hmm.
You've guys chosen everything to go this path. Was it like intended to be like this, or is it just happened to be like this?
I guess it's a combination of like because normally we've been thinking about like bringing certain bands with us on tour anyway, but sometimes it's hard because yeah, everybody has their hectic schedules and you know how it goes. But in this case, it was like it was meant to be because those guys. I mean, first of all, they're great friends of ours. We toured with them before. They're a great live band. They're a great band in the studio as well. And they were we're totally in for this. So let's do this. So once they said yes, we were like, hey, wow, awesome, let's do this.
And you've been here in Brazil sometimes already, and Latin America already. What are your expectations for these shows, of course? And what do you think how the people in Brazil will react to these new songs? Since you've played them live already in Mexico, right?
Mhm.
These songs. How
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
the connection with these new songs?
Well, of course, in the beginning, people have to get used to it, especially when we did when we did it in when we did it like in Mexico for. Oh, I wasn't on the Mexican tour. That's a different story because I wasn't on that tour. But so I can't actually judge about that. But if it comes to the festivals, for instance, I really noticed that people really dig the new songs, and we're all actually quite surprised in a positive way how many people are asking for us to play new songs. Because normally it's more like, with all due respect, people okay they like the new album, but they're always like, yeah, but we want to hear more of the older stuff and just a couple of the new songs. And now a lot of people are really asking for us to play as lot of new stuff as possible. So yeah, coming up with a set list these days is really one huge compromise, I can tell you.
Wow,
Yeah.
it big stakes there.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, and that's the problem that we have. We have a luxury problem that we already have five. Oh, sorry, yeah, we have like 9 albums. We have a whole bunch of EPs by now as well. So there's so much material where we can choose from. So yeah, it's sometimes it's better to maybe not make more albums, but then again, what's the point?
Do you help out with the set list? Is this something that you guys decide together, or is it something that it is like obvious, like three from the new and the best ones, and
It kind of depends. It's we also kind of look at per region as well because we also know, like for instance, when we come to Brazil, a lot of people want to hear the old stuff, which is fine. I mean, all good. But we kind of always look like what did we play the last time? What songs haven't we played yet? Um, and we kind of discuss that together as well. In general, it's more like it's also a task. Like, and I'm glad that I don't have that task. It's more like Koen and Mark who kind of like come up with the basic idea for a set list, and then they always throw it into the group. Like, do you guys have any idea or input for that? And then we look from there on, of course.
which when you put like Aspiro into the, of course, discography of Epica, which one is now your favorite album? If you had to choose one.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I guess, yeah, since it's so fresh, I guess for me personally, at the moment, Aspire is probably my favorite at the moment. But I also love Design Your Universe. I'm really proud of the Quantum Enigma. I think also the Divine Conspiracy is still like a very solid album. It really depends on mood. But at the moment, since we're really into like the new songs for now, I would definitely go. I know it sounds very, cheesy and all, but I would definitely go to the new album. But
It's a cheesy question as well. I
yeah,
know, but
but it's a difficult one to answer because it kind of comes and goes. It depends on what kind of mood you are. It's the same thing like asking me what is my favorite album. I really can't answer that anyway.
okay. And if you think of Epica now, do you think that Epica will still be progressing with their music? Do you think what would be the next steps musical wise when you think about the big step you guys have taken with the Spiral? What are the new steps for Epica after this big step you guys have taken?
That's a very good question, and I really can't answer it at the moment, to be honest. No, but I guess in general that what the main target is always is like progress, and of course that we enjoy what we're doing. That's the most important part. That's also one of the reasons why we experiment at the first place. Like, of course, it's people always ask like, oh, do you write songs for the fans or do you do it for yourself? Of course, the fans are very important, but I learned one very important lesson: like, you can't make music for your fans if you're not enjoying it yourself. And it does kind of sound selfish in a way, but then again, believe me, like from that's something that I learned from Tukalski, who was also like a big inspiration for the new album. Like, if you don't do it for yourself in first place, you can't also do it for the other people. And that's one of the most important parts, is like keep triggering yourself, keep challenging yourself, and make sure that you enjoy what you're doing. And if that's happening, then we're totally safe.
Wow, I have nothing more to ask you. This was the best ending I could ever have wished.
That's good. Good to hear that.
Thank you so much, Rob, for your answers. And yeah, leave a message for the people that are anxious to see Epica live in São Paulo and, of course, the other cities in Brazil.
Yeah, well, people, I heard that you got another visitor over here. I heard that you guys are anxious to see us all live again, but we are also anxious to see you guys again because you guys are always giving us such a warm welcome when we come back to Brazil. It's amazing to come back. It's been way too long, if you ask me, and we're looking forward to play the new set for you guys and to receive your hot, temperamental vibes again. So keep it up, and we'll see you each other very soon.
Awesome.
Absolutely.